years of interviewing world leaders and cultural icons, I am teaching everything I know. Don't miss your chance to be in the next room. Go to TavishTalks.com and get on the waiting list right now. That's TavishTalks.com. The conversation continues. Will you be part of it?
Yeah, man.
We gon' get it right. We gon' get it right. We gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
Protests and anthems, yes, we chanting. A movement of people, it's like we dancing to the ministry of. It's the energy of, in memory of them that we love. The trinity of the people, the peace, the power, the truth. We speak the powers even louder. We can say it blacker, we can say it prouder. A woman vice president that went to Howard. Now we talk helping black businesses, and our differences is magnificent. Bringing light to the point where the prisons is. I was told good life is where forgiveness lives. The ascension is to leave what's left behind and feed the seeds with deeds that bless the mind, caress the mind, and question justify. With you and God in time, my best align.
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine, flies, be patient, 'cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right, we gon' get it right, we gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
How can I be a better father, son, a better grandson, honoring Fannie Lou's and the Fred Hamptons, the Harriets, the chariots that carry us to various areas that marry us to progress. Yeah, we the harvest, the lovely days and midnight marauders, even through charges and days of darkness. No, we in the hands of the greatest artists. I see it in the waters, I see it in our daughters. They could be bridges that know no borders. For so long, them folk tried to ignore us. So we got the ballot boxes to vote for us. Peace to Stacey and the people of Georgia, who galvanized so that we can move forward. Steps are ordered with the presence of mind. Everything's more beautiful in time.
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine, flies, be patient, 'cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right, we gon' get it right. We gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, your host and White House correspondent, joining you live in afternoon drive time in LA. I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Be sure to follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, DRNIIQ. And there I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast. That way, you'll never miss an episode. Last but not least, subscribe to KBLA's YouTube channel. And that way, you can jump in the A More Perfect channel, I like to call it, and be a part of the conversation at any time. In this hour, we are going to remember the life and legacy of the late, great Jesse Jackson Sr. The Reverend Jesse Jackson died today after a valiant fight with a rare form of Parkinson's. We will be memorializing Reverend Jackson this hour and the next. In our second hour, you can expect a conversation from another great communicator. The Tavis Smiley will be joining us in the second hour to remember his friend and the luminary, Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. But during this hour, two of our frequent contributors here on A More Perfect Union will be remembering the life and legacy of Reverend Jackson. I'll be talking to them in short order. But first things first, it's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. And kicking us off, a lot going on in the world. There's a lot going on in the world, a lot going on across the country. Look, ICE is a problem, not just in Washington, hence why the Department of Homeland Security currently is not being funded by the federal government, but they are a challenge in communities across the country. Communities across the country. And it is important that we really wrap our arms around this challenge for our country before we can. And I'm talking about the communities across the country where ICE has formed some sort of deal or partnership with local law enforcement. It is an issue that is a sleeper issue, but it is an important issue that we shouldn't take our eyes off of. NPR is reporting on a little used ICE agreement with local police and how they have exploded under Trump. You see, the use of federal immigration and customs enforcement programs that deputize local police for immigration enforcement has dramatically expanded under President Trump's second term in office. The rapid expansion of the 287G program, that's what it's called, 287G. It marks one of the most visible shifts in President Trump's second term immigration strategy. It's something that we should absolutely be paying extra close attention to because on Trump's first day, you might remember he signed the executive order called Protecting the American People Against Invasion, which called on the Department of Homeland Security Secretary to maximize the use of the 287G agreements and to structure them in a manner that provides the most effective model for enforcing federal immigration laws. And let me tell you something, based on NPR's reporting, the results have been swift. In 2019, during Trump's first term, get this, just 45 of these 287G agreements were signed, according to available data. Now, as of February 13th, ICE reported 1,412 active agreements across 40 states and territories, more than 1,100 of them signed in 2025 alone. Yikes. And so we're going to be leaning into this. And, to the extent that we have local leaders that join us here on A More Perfect Union, particularly mayors and council presidents, we're going to ask about this. It's unclear, if there's any such agreement that exists in Los Angeles County, but you better believe we know who to ask about it. When we come forward, we're switching gears. We have to give you a little bit of news, and there's a lot in there that sounds pretty bad and ugly. But there is plenty more to delight in when we come forward as we memorialize the life and legacy of Reverend Jesse Jackson. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis, which causes joint pain, stiffness, and swelling? Does this sound like you? Listen to what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Tremfya guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy, and for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Visit Tremfya.com or call 1-800-526-7736.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
to laugh the pain away.
Hey, KBLA delegation, happy Black History Month. Around here, we celebrate our culture, our community, and our contributions daily. But this year, as we observe the 100th anniversary of Black History Month celebrations, we're excited about our annual KBLA Talk 1580 Black History Month Luncheon, honoring comedy greats. On Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum in downtown LA, we're toasting D.L. Hughley, Melanie Camacho, Earthquake, Munell, Dion Cole, and Martin Lawrence with a surprise guest appearance. A limited number of individual tickets for the luncheon remain, so now would be a good time to head to KBLA1580.com to secure one for yourself. That's KBLA1580.com. A little laughter goes a long way, especially in times like these. So come, join us for our annual KBLA Talk 1580 Black History Month Luncheon, Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum. Again, tickets are available right now at KBLA1580.com.
Well, I hang around my boy. He's been married for 6 years. Videotaped his wedding day, never watched it. Now and every day he watch it every day, but he watch it in reverse. Because he said he loves seeing himself take that ring back off of that finger. Walking back down that aisle, just waving at her ugly mother down the church, getting back in the limo, back at the bachelor party. Look how happy I was.
KBLA Talk 1580 thanks LA City Council members Curran D. Price Jr. and Heather Hutt for being the presenting sponsors at this year's Black History Month Luncheon. Honoring excellence, resilience, and achievement, we're KBLA Talk 1580.
Hit me! National news, the consequence, informed opinion, and analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and really delighted to welcome back to the show our friends, Jamar Reed. He is the managing partner of District Analyst. He is our resident data justice contributor here on the show. Welcome, Jamar.
Thank you, Dr. Q. Yeah, glad to be here.
And we have Dr. Jonathan Collins, Associate Professor of Political Science at Columbia University, also our resident democracy scholar here on A More Perfect Union. I couldn't think of a more perfect duo to help us process the news today, the loss of a giant, that is Reverend Jesse Jackson. Welcome to the show, Dr. Collins.
Dr. Nee, I'm glad to be here.
Well, glad to have you here. First things first, I want to share something that Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass posted earlier today, saying, quotes, "I grew up watching Reverend Jesse Jackson lead a national movement that fought for justice for poor and working people. I'm deeply saddened by his passing, but profoundly grateful for the example that he set and the generations of leaders he inspired. Reverend Jackson was a civil rights hero and a tireless advocate for those too often overlooked. He was an icon who helped elect countless Black leaders, and his historic, groundbreaking presidential campaign paved the way for the eventual election of President Barack Obama. Jesse was also a friend, and I had the honor of working with him on a wide range of issues throughout my career. In addition to his work on voting rights and economic justice, Reverend Jackson's impact expanded to corporate America, where he worked to make the private sector more democratized, and internationally, where he worked for diplomacy and helped to secure the release of hostages. He leaves a lasting legacy of hope, and it's now up to us to keep hope alive. Dr. Collins, we'll start with you. What do you make of Mayor Bass's remarks and just the wide range of impact that Reverend Jackson had? It was not just in the rough and tumble of politics, but it was in so many other areas of American life.
Yeah, I'm so glad that Mayor Bass is speaking to the nuance of Reverend Jackson, because obviously he gets a lot of notoriety for his presidential runs in 84 and 88 and being really like the first national contender amongst the Democratic Party, the second African-American to run behind Shirley Chisholm, Teachers College, Columbia University's very own. But Jesse Jackson was the first serious candidate, and I think that tends to overlook a lot of the things that built up before he became this prominent national political figure, which was his very deep vision for Black America as a group of people within this country who finally had economic freedom. You know, Jesse Jackson, he cut his teeth with Operation Breadbasket, which was a special spinoff organization underneath SCLC. Reverend Martin Luther King tapped Jesse Jackson himself to lead Operation Breadbasket, and operating out of Chicago, he built an entire coalition of local Black business owners, a multiracial coalition that also included some white business owners, and they were developing these strategies to put pressure on companies to force them to hire more Black workers, boycotting in the same way that we saw the Montgomery bus boycott with Rosa Parks. He was replicating that strategy in the business sector to increase Black employment, increase pipelines and opportunities to Black entrepreneurship. You know, Jesse Jackson was a person who looked at the Black community and was determined to get some green in our pockets.
Determined to get some green in our pockets, and understood that was too a part of the equation. Jamar, I want to bring you into the conversation here. It seems to me that Reverend Jackson was a pioneer in so many ways, including a pioneer in recognizing no data, no justice. We've talked about this on this show a whole bunch, and he understood that one of the very important ways to get the attention of not just corporate America, but to get the attention of folks who occupied positions of power, influence, and authority was to make sure that we had the data, that we got the numbers, that we understood our economic impact. Talk to us about how you're remembering Reverend Jesse Jackson in that way.
Yeah, so I think that was an excellent bring in and connection to data. And I think that Reverend Jackson, he did what a lot of data scientists and analysts fail to do, which is to bring that data from just numbers on a sheet to an actual story, and to make that and to form that story into a message that resonates with those who are receiving the information. And he was a master storyteller, and using information to tell that story. And I just, my story with Reverend Jackson, it starts back in '88, the Michigan Miracle. I was there at Chrysler Arena, 10 years old, when he came running in 1988, and it was expected that he would not win the Michigan primary, but he took it by 55%, and absolutely changed the trajectory of not only that race, but also set up for President Barack Obama to come and run many years later. He would not have won. He would not have defeated Hillary Clinton had the rules not changed at the DNC, and that was driven by that win at the Michigan Miracle. So that's how I'm remembering. That was something that I remember as a 10-year-old, and again, connecting it back to someone that had the ability to take information, formulate it into a story, and put that information in front of people that came from different backgrounds, and make it resonate enough that he was able to get to gather a coalition to support his run for president in '88. So.
I mean, speaking of a coalition, you can't talk about Reverend Jackson and not talk about the impact of the Rainbow Push Coalition. Since we were talking about data, I want to stick with that for a second. The Reverend Jesse Jackson and his nonprofit, the Rainbow Push Coalition, reportedly sent an email. This is back in 2018 to 25 large tech companies, including Google and Facebook, Tesla, and Oracle, calling on them to release information on their hiring practices, on their board diversity measures, and employee retention statistics, in addition to their latest diversity data, saying in an interview, quotes, "Patterns of exclusion and minimal participation continue." As we said in an interview with the Center for Investigative Reporting, he went on to say that they're obviously not using their strength to recruit and retain people of color. That ask came on the heels of a deadline for those companies to submit their EEO-1 forms showing the demographic breakdowns of their workforce to the federal government. So cut from 2018 to now 2026, where I would argue many of these companies, not all, but many of them have backpedaled, backslided from these espoused beliefs around diversity, equity, and inclusion, from these commitments that they had. Dr. Collins, talk to us about how Reverend Jackson was a pioneer in that fight.
Well, he absolutely changed the tone and the tenor of the conversation, because we have to think about, Jesse Jackson rises out of the civil rights movement. And, he comes on into the sort of the main leadership group relatively late. He doesn't actually emerge as one of the main members of this coalition with Ralph Abernathy, Martin Luther King, and until really close to King's assassination. And, we have to remember that when King was assassinated, he was in Memphis, Tennessee, leading a workers' strike, because he was really pivoting towards an anti-poverty movement, an anti-poverty campaign. And he saw the way to, Black liberation through the ability to address abject poverty that had been striking the Black community for decades at this point. Well, who was the person that took the torch and actually moved that movement forward? It was Jesse Jackson. He was the one who maintained this commitment to holding companies accountable for putting Black folks in positions of professional prestige. He was the one that was maintaining the key focus on anti-poverty. So not only holding companies accountable for hiring Black folks, but holding companies accountable for being a part of an anti-poverty movement, right? Pushing companies to move away from greed and profit for the sake of profit, and really thinking about the societal purpose of making sure that every single person has the dignity that is summoned in his famous poem, I Am Somebody. And so none of what we saw, the progress that we saw, ahead of 2020, happens without Jesse Jackson. And it's ironic, but predictable, that as we lose Jesse Jackson, we're also losing tremendous progress that was made in terms of hiring and diversity.
Yeah, I mean, I really like how you laid that out, Dr. Collins, reminding us that this wasn't just diversity, supporting diversity for diversity's sake, right? But it was much deeper than that. And he was very consistent in that way throughout his life and his career. Jamar, I know that you have daughters, and one extraordinary part of the legacy of Reverend Jackson is his impact, particularly on Black women in politics. Just a couple hours before we went on air, I saw that our friends over at the 19th published an article that featured a number of prominent women in Democratic politics, saying that he, quotes, gave me my wings, that he opened doors for Black women in politics, whether you're talking about Leah Daughtry, or Mignon Moore or Donna Brazile. There are a number of Black women whose names have become household names, certainly among Democrats, because of the commitment of Reverend Jackson. Talk to us about his impact on Black women and girls, the continued legacy, shall I say, on Black women and girls.
Yeah, so I love the fact that you actually started that out by saying he opened doors. Open doors meaning that he did not put people in position they did not qualify for. He didn't put mediocre people in position, without making sure that and what that implies is that they were ready to walk through the door when the doors were open. They just needed those doors to be opened, and I think that's what resonates with me, is that as you start to get folks in the room, people are in the room and they're able to see to actually see what's happening and to actually hold folks accountable. And it goes back to what you were saying earlier when you were in your earlier piece there, using the data to hold folks accountable. And when we get in and we're able to look around and see what the information says, we're actually able to say, hey, I know that there are qualified women there. I know that there are qualified Black women that are in position, ready to walk through the door. You just need to open the door. So I love the fact that you brought that up. And again, it's a reminder that, there are qualified Black women, there are qualified Black people, there are qualified people that are not being given opportunities in this time. And it takes me back to the Reagan era, to the 88, to the 84. It takes me back to remembering what it was during that time when folks were being denied opportunity, even though they had prepared themselves. And again, as we move forward, we're going to need folks like the Reverend Jesse Jackson that are going to hold companies and folks accountable to opening up opportunities.
That's right. And talking about opening up opportunities, Donna Brazile, in this piece published by the 19th, just a couple hours ago, reminds us that she was among the young women who got their start in politics working for Jackson in 1984. I didn't know this, but at the age of 23, she left a job with Coretta Scott King to work for Reverend Jackson, who tapped her Louisiana roots to focus on Southern voters. You never know what may become of the folks, the young people that we mentor today. Of course, Donna Brazile went on to become the first Black woman to be a campaign manager for a presidential campaign. I'm talking about Al Gore's presidential campaign. When we come forward, we are remembering the life and legacy of Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
The audience is listening. Thought-provoking, eye-opening, heart-rendering. This is where authentic voices meet powerful discussions on culture, community, and change. This is where Black voices matter. He's breaking boundaries, amplifying diverse perspectives, and tackling the issues that matter most to you. You're inside A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Civil rights leader Reverend Jesse Jackson has died at 84. His son, Illinois Congressman Jonathan Jackson, says his father never gave up on him and lived each day fully.
I'm grateful to God for the time he's given us together. Thank you for the meaning of his life.
Jackson passed away surrounded by family after battling a rare form of Parkinson's disease. President Trump is blaming Maryland's Black Governor Wes Moore and other Democrats for a major wastewater spill in the Potomac River after a sewer line collapsed in Montgomery County. Trump called it an ecological disaster and said FEMA will help with cleanup. Governor Moore's office pushed back, saying the federal government has long been responsible for that pipe. And the executive director of the Major League Baseball Players Association, Tony Clark, is stepping down after more than a decade in the role. Clark, who is Black, led the union through 2 collective bargaining agreements. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Santa Fe Springs on the 605 northbound coming up on Telegraph Road. That's a crash. It looks like these guys are now out of lanes, and it looks like the drive is pretty tough still, leaving the 105 freeway. Let's also take a look at Corona with a wreck on the 15 southbound just past El Cerrito Road. Carpool 2 left lanes are blocked, and that drive is backing up all the way from Magnolia Avenue. Wreck in Garden Grove on the 22 westbound before Euclid. They're clearing it out of the carpool lane, but that drive is still a mess off of the 57-5.
Escape the confines of the city for the expansive beauty of the Santa Ynez Valley with a short 2-hour drive up the coast. Let Chumash Casino Resort be your destination getaway. Welcome to freedom. Go to chumashcasino.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A couple of sports questions come up as people around the world remember the life and legacy of civil rights icon Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. What if the San Francisco Giants had offered Jackson more than $6,000 in 1959 to sign a minor league baseball contract? Jackson was a standout pitcher at Sterling High School in Greenville, South Carolina. What if the University of Illinois had given Jackson a fair chance to play quarterback? At 6'4", Jackson had the size and skills to earn a full scholarship from the Big Ten Conference school. Jackson stayed at Illinois just 1 year. He transferred in 1960 to HBCU North Carolina A&T. Jackson led A&T to the CIAA championship in 1964, but it was at North Carolina A&T where Jackson's focus shifted away from sports. Today, we can thank the San Francisco Giants and the University of Illinois for sending Jackson into a much more valuable direction. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, y'all, come on. Pick up the drums.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah,
Gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey.
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, you know, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chucky. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it. Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. Fight the power.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and Brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
Now back to building a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
More Perfect Union on KBLA. You're listening to and streaming a More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. As so many of us have been doing today, I've been reflecting on the life, the whole life of the Reverend Jesse Jackson. And, you know, there are so many components that make up this marvelous life. But one of the things that's come up pretty consistently in some of the reflections that I've been tracking today are two speeches, his 1984 Democratic Convention speech and his 1988 Democratic Convention speech. We'll be playing the 1988 speech in the second hour. I wanted to play just a little bit of the beginning of his 1984 speech to give you a little bit of flavor. And then on the other side, I want to talk to Dr. Collins of Columbia University and Jamar Reed, our resident data justice contributor here on the other side. So take a listen to the beginning of Jesse Jackson Sr.'s 1984 Democratic Convention speech.
We come together bound by our faith in a mighty God with genuine respect and love for our country and inheriting the legacy of a great party. The Democratic Party, which is the best hope for redirecting our nation on a more humane, just, and peaceful course. This is not a perfect party. We are not a perfect people, yet we are called to a perfect mission. Our mission to feed the hungry, to clothe the naked, to house the homeless, to teach the illiterate, to provide jobs for the jobless, and to choose the human race over the nuclear race. We're gathered here this week to nominate a candidate and adopt a platform which will expand, unify, direct, and inspire our party and the nation to fulfill this mission. My constituency is the desperate, the damned, the disinherited, the disrespected, and the despised. They are restless and seek relief. They have voted in record numbers. They have invested the faith, hope, and trust that they have in us. The Democratic Party must send them a signal that we care. I pledge my best not to let them down. There is the call of conscience, redemption, expansion, healing, and unity. Leadership must heed the call of conscience, redemption, expansion, healing, and unity, for they are the key to achieving our mission. Time is neutral and does not change things. With courage and initiative, leaders change things. No generation can choose the age or circumstance in which it is born, but through leadership, it can choose to make the age in which it is born an age of enlightenment, an age of jobs and peace and justice. Only leadership, that intangible combination of gifts, discipline, information, circumstance, courage, timing, will, and divine inspiration, can lead us out of the crisis in which we find ourselves. Leadership can mitigate the misery of our nation. Leadership can part the waters and lead our nation in the direction of the promised land. Leadership can lift the boats stuck at the bottom. I've had the rare opportunity to watch 7 men and then 2 pour out their souls, offer their service, and heal and heed the call of duty to direct the course of our nation. There is a proper season for everything. There is a time to sow and a time to reap. There's a time to compete and a time to cooperate. I ask for your vote on the first ballot as a vote for a new direction for this party and this nation. A vote of conviction, a vote of conscience.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. That is one of the greatest convention speeches that we have heard in American history. And it's not lost on me and likely not lost on you that he could have delivered that speech at the most recent convention and it would still hit. It would still be relevant to the disinherited, the people who feel forgotten and unseen, unheard. Dr. Collins, after having heard just a little taste of that 1984 Democratic convention speech delivered by Democratic candidate for president, then Democratic candidate for president, Jesse Jackson, what do you make of it?
And just powerful, just incredibly powerful. You know, to bring back his words, this is not a perfect party. We are not a perfect people, yet we are called to a perfect mission, right? Just inundating us in this idea that politics is about a higher calling. And you think about right now, where so much of our presidential politics seem to be about greed and about separation. It seems to be, wars fought between groups, especially haves and have-nots. The court system is being used against us and not for us. you think about Reverend Jackson's words, and again, this higher calling, and that's the thing that makes it feel special. And just seeing him on the stage, this is a man who was born to a woman who gave birth out of wedlock, a teenage girl who was preyed upon essentially by a 33-year-old neighbor. That little boy that comes from that in Greensville, South Carolina, an embarrassment he was considered in his community. He was teased and mocked his entire childhood for being a product of out of wedlock parenting. And for him to go and become one of the top of his class in high school, and again at North Carolina A&T, historically Black college, and then for him to have the civil rights career that he had, and to then find himself on the stage of the Democratic National Convention after having completely changed the landscape of American politics. And his plea to us is to find the moral character to be better together collectively for the people who are most vulnerable. It doesn't get any more powerful than that.
And a powerful storyteller as well. I mean, of course, he is Reverend Jesse Jackson, and anybody who knows, folks from the Black church, Black ministers, you shouldn't be surprised at their ability to be able to paint really compelling pictures with words. But talk to us about how that showed up on the stage at the Democratic National Convention. I don't think America was used to seeing Black ministers on stages like that as candidates for president, Jamar.
Yeah, so I mean, Dr. Q, he definitely brought the Black church, and it was within the first couple of words that he spoke. The cadence was there. And the fact that he going back to something you said and something he said, that he came to represent his constituents, which were the disrespected, the disregarded. I may be getting this wrong, but the disrespected and the disregarded, it stood out to me in that time. Also going to what Dr. Collins was saying, those that others have set aside and pushed to the margins, he was there to be the voice and to speak up on that national stage for those folks, for these folks, and to bring that message. And then the other thing that stood out to me in his message was about, and I'm going to misphrase this, but about those votes that sat at the bottom and elevating those votes that sat at the bottom, and making sure that that those with power and those with influence and those with connection were not the only ones making decisions around who represented us. And that stood out to me, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to research that line there, because that stood out to me as we look back, but it also stands out to me as we look forward, making sure that those in the margins, those whose votes have historically and their voices have been lost, making sure that that those voices are heard, because those two we too are Americans and deserve to have our voices heard and our votes counted. So powerful speech.
Very powerful speech. I encourage folks to go to YouTube, listen to the whole speech. It's a long speech, almost an hour, but it is by far one of the most memorable convention speeches in American history. It's one thing to do it once. It's another thing to do it twice. And that is how rare of a political talent, that's how consequential a figure Reverend Jesse Jackson has been and always will be. When we come forward, Donna Brazile published an op-ed in the Washington Post today entitled "Jesse Jackson Won in the End." She says, like his mentors before him, Jackson passed the torch. We're going to talk about that aspect of his legacy, passing the torch, and what political leaders, what movement leaders can or should learn from his example today. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward with our guests, Dr. Jonathan E. Collins and Jamar Reed.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well-trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up.
Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Getting around LA doesn't have to cost a lot. Metro has fares that fit every budget. 20 free rides for qualified riders through the Life Fare program. Free passes for students with GoPass and affordable options for everyone in between. Wherever you're going, Metro's got you covered. Visit metro.net/fare programs.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. So let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver card is at table 27 and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We face tragedy, but we don't fall into despair. We continue our work to build a more perfect union.
We are remembering the life and legacy of Reverend Jesse Jackson, who died early this morning at the age of 84. I want to also send our sincerest condolences to our friend and brother, Jesse Jackson Jr., who also has a show here on KBLA Talk 1580. I tapped into the conversation he had with Tavis earlier today, and he seems to be balancing this enormous loss with somehow, holding our hand as we all adjust to the new norm of Jesse Jackson Sr. with the ancestors. I'm sure we'll have Jesse Jackson Jr. on the show in short order. But today we have Jonathan E. Collins, professor of political science at Columbia University, and Jamar Reed, who is managing partner of District Analyst, our data justice contributor, Dr. Jonathan Collins, our democracy scholar here. And so, gents, I want to call attention to an op-ed piece that Donna Brazile published in the Washington Post. Donna Brazile, of course, the Democratic strategist and analyst, pioneer in her own right. She drew attention to the power of mentorship And she reminds us in the piece that in 1983, when she went to work for Reverend Jesse Jackson's first presidential campaign, a lot of people saw it as a hopeless quest. How could a Black man possibly be elected president of the United States? We certainly saw that come to pass in 2008 when President Obama was elected. But one of the things that captured my attention at the beginning of this piece was the power of radical imagination. The power of radical imagination. Reverend Jackson dared us to imagine a world, a circumstance where we as Black people could be in positions of power, influence, and authority, not just at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, not just in a corporate boardroom or in a corporate CEO office, right? But in every area of civic life, of American life. Dr. Collins, what message should movement leaders and political leaders alike glean from Reverend Jackson's commitment to mentorship and folks who bear the fruit of that commitment, like Donna Brazile?
Well, I think we could all learn from Reverend Jackson that leadership is a continuum. That leadership is it's a linked chain. It's not a rope. It is only as good as the ability to add more and more links to the chain as we move forward in time. Reverend Jackson saw himself as the product of and someone necessary for a very particular moment. And then he also recognized when the moments were shifting and that it was time to groom new leaders. And it didn't just start with Donna Brazile and folks who worked on his presidential campaigns. You ever heard of Al Sharpton?
Mm-hmm.
You know where he got his start, right? Rainbow Coalition. He started the division here in New York City, in Brooklyn, right? Directly mentored by, Reverend Jesse Jackson. He has always seen this as a relay race and not an individual sprint.
Jamar, I want to pick up on that point of just sort of, Reverend Jackson running this relay. One of the things that Donna Brazile calls attention to in her op-ed published in the Washington Post today, she writes that, quotes, Jackson's life story is a triumph over adversity. He was born in 1941 in Greenville, South Carolina, to an unwed mother still in high school. Segregation was in full force. Black people had to live with the indignity of colored restrooms and drinking fountains, sit in the back of buses, and attend all Black schools. But rather than accept second-class status or become bitter, Jackson resolved to work to make things better and never stopped. Talk to us about this part of his legacy that really lives on in so many people. The Reverend Al Sharptons, the Donna Braziles, the Barack Obamas, the Kamala Harrises, so many people that he has mentored and inspired and lifted up over the years.
Yeah, I mean, to continue on with what both you and Dr. Collins have already stated, he was a force multiplier. It's not about just, what can I do, but what can I do to inspire those around me and to mentor those around me so that I'm able to, to spread the message, to spread my message. And that's exactly what he did. But it didn't just start with him. He was rooted. He was rooted in the community. He was rooted in the experiences that he was rooted in experiences that he would have had, under Dr. Martin Luther King and the other civil rights leaders that he spent time with down in the South. And he carried that north. He carried that north as our folks started to spread out of the South west and started to spread north into Chicago, into Detroit, into Cleveland. And he multiplied that message. And I think that's the I think that's the legacy he leaves with us. I mean, we're going to hear his thoughts and ideas through those that sat with and under and listened to, and I think that's where the legacy continues. And I mean, a force multiplier is what I would leave with. Yeah.
A force multiplier indeed. Our thanks to the both of you for helping us to only scratch the surface. We've only scratched the surface in terms of the life and legacy of Reverend Jesse Jackson. And we will continue to remember him and to learn from his incredible legacy, a legacy that we're all a part of. We're all a part of. You know, this show's called A More Perfect Union. Jesse Jackson dedicated his life to advancing just that. Just that.
And
a more perfect
he
union.
kept it simple. Simple messages. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. And simple messages that have carried us forward. Yes, we can. And Black Lives Matter. Right? I am somebody. These simple messages that inspired entire generations. He taught us that.
He taught us that. We will never forget it. My thanks to Dr. Jonathan E. Collins of Columbia University and Jamar Reed, managing partner over at District Analyst. Thanks to you both. We come forward in our next hour. We'll be joined by the great Tavis Smiley. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black leaders say they're working to teach younger generations about the legacy of Reverend Jesse Jackson, who died at 84. Commentator Roland Martin says Jackson was a global leader, even though he never secured the Democratic presidential nomination.
When he traveled to other countries, he was literally treated and accepted as if he was a head of state.
Jackson ran in 1984 and 1988 and later Trump is paying tribute to Reverend Jesse Jackson, calling him a force of nature. In a Truth Social post, Trump described Jackson as a good man with grit and personality.